Well, as a first pick, this might be a little difficult. There's a lot of different directions that you can go, but you don't want to give a direction where it's an obvious tell what type of situation or what type of composition you want to build. So I think IDNS going with the Xavier, very, very safe. He fits in many different compositions, doesn't really give too much, but it does establish some presence in the mid lane.
I think we have to note as well, Fanny has actually been led through the draft again, and Smart Omega actually have the opportunity to pick it up if they really want to. Franco Akai banned again, so there really isn't too much they have to worry about. If they do pick that up, it will force IDNS in a situation where they might have to prioritize the Atlas early on, and this was already discussed earlier in day number 1. Early picking the Atlas is not good.
Yeah, if we see Fanny pop up here, then I feel like they're also could consider, IDNS could also consider Kufra, right? But it's going to be, for now, the Beatrix comes out. What is going to the last pick going to be? There you go. It's actually going to be Lilia.
Okay, that's a pretty decent matchup, especially since they can play for the earlier stages. But I think Smart Omega want to see what more does IDNS give us a bigger tell about your composition. So we're going to take our own way. We're going to make sure that you have a decently bad matchup in the mid lane. Lilia naturally able to push as well as really harass Xavier in the mid lane while still having a super safe gold laner in Beatrix. Very meta, very, very good at what she does in pretty much any single role. So now it's up to IDNS to kind of show more identity in the composition to threaten Omega.
You can imagine that they themselves must be feeling a bit threatened right now, though. Kelra on this Beatrix is always something that you have to be careful of. The sniper on the side of Omega going to be able to pick people off pretty consistently. So instantly, 2 assassins. As we just mentioned it before as well, Kelra in MPL Philippines Season 9 has a 71% win rate on Beatrix.
I'll have you know that's about the same percentage win rate I have on my Gord in ranked games. It's,
Nice.
it's pretty darn good. Yeah, I know.
Gord?
And yes, that's high mythic, okay? But anyway, let me tell you, the Beatrix is just it's such a stable pick, like you mentioned, Gideon, and it's played so much, especially in the Philippines, right? I mean, there's a lot of great Beatrix players, but I gotta say, Kelra, one of the best. It's similar to the fact that he can either be very aggressive in his choices, or he can actually farm up and just get to the point where then he's confident enough to make those plays. And so they actually complement this too with a Ling pick here for Ryzen, right? I actually like this because we get to see these assassin jungles come out again, and it makes things not so much stale, as you said yesterday, Gideon.
Yeah, they're not trying to be open AI. That's what I'm trying to say. They are not trying to be grandmaster chess players. They're trying to show you this is Mobile Legends. There's better ways to play it than having to play a very straightforward standard style of open books. Now, if you look at IDNS, right, they're looking at the composition so far, saying, hey, they've got an assassin that might be a little bit of a problem. Natalia is one of their big picks that Omega must be extremely aware of. Being able to get picked off like that, and especially the smoke screen being a natural counter to the black shoes. If you can't use the black shoes, or if you're silenced, you basically have no escape mechanic.
Yeah, for that reason, I think we're going to have to pay a lot of attention to what Chaknu is going to be playing later on. We can see IDNS already banning out the Kufra in preparation that they might pick it up to counteract the Fanny. But also, a very interesting ban from Smart Omega, the Irritel, has not been seen on stage thus far.
That's kind of been a question too, like how is the new Irithel, right?
I think Irithel's in a very similar position to Mia, right? And I think, you know, a lot of the philosophy of Mia, you get 4 items, you basically win the game, one of the hardest scalers in the game. And I think Irithel is starting to get to that point, with the meta now being that there's so much gold on the map to obtain, especially from gold laners, getting that gold shield, and then rotating topside to get the second tower of the game. I think it's a lot easier to actually achieve that.
Yeah.
Actually, I might have to disagree a little bit with you there.
Really?
On the Irritel, I actually think she fulfills a slightly different niche to Mia, yes? Both of them, when they get their items, are really strong. But in comparison to Mia, Irritel has a very easy time dominating the gold lane. She can go up against most gold laners now. I think even against Beatrix, she actually puts up a pretty good fight due to the changes to her new energy style of gameplay, which is why I think Omega, they are a little worried about that. But straight away, Angela Ling combo, here we go again.
I kind of expected this. I was like, well, what could Chaknu pick here, right? The Kufra's out, the Atlas is out. He does play the Angela, and paired with the Angeline combo here, it could work out well for them.
What? So they're going to go Dyroth So they're going to go Dairoth goal lane? No, Dairoth EXP, right? And then after that, throw the Esmeralda down in towards the gold lane, I suppose? I'm not entirely sure here, but somebody is going to get babysit by this Natalia one way or another. And Omega make a really good response by throwing in the Thamus. Doesn't matter what matchup you're going to throw at me, I will be able to sustain.
What would you rather give the gold lane to? An Esmeralda or a Dairoth?
Personally, I feel I want to give a little bit more kill pressure, so I think Dairoth, and then after that, make sure that Natalia is going to babysit that lane.
Interesting. I actually would prefer putting Esmeralda in the gold lane myself.
So I'm the tiebreaker.
Yeah, because Esmeralda wants to scale up, wants to get items. Dairoth does better against tankier heroes that are going to fight him one-to-one. Against a marksman, he does get juked out fairly easily. But I guess we will see. This is something that IDNS, we know they do. They do actually like going for the double fight. Their side lane, more of a 1-3-1 composition to just go hard and fast in the early game. Will it be enough to overcome the obstacle that is Smart Omega? We will now find out as we return to the land of Dawn.
Interesting points you guys made here, and you know, I wonder what the chat thinks too out there, because what scales better, right? It looks like it's gonna go ahead and be the Esmeralda up into the gold lane, and I'm gonna actually say Esmeralda as well, because let's say you're able to get those items a little bit faster, especially something like the Ice Queen wand, where you can kind of provide that slow down for your team. That might work better for them here. And again, you're still also relying on Dairoth to, you know, get those levels, get the abilities, but then kind of be that, I guess, damage for mid-game here, and also the penetration that you have.
Man, you guys are really safe. I'm the savage here. That's the problem. I like the risk involved. I like being able to stand above the opponent. But unfortunately, when you're in pro play, there's just a lot going on here. And more importantly so is when you're looking at Zanri on this Natalia, I would have expected him to be matching where Chaknu was moving all across the map, but instead, make a play down bottom for that first blood.
That's an excellent first blood going over to the side of IDNS, and that's exactly why you drafted Natalia. Zanri being able to pick that up with the execute in a lane where usually you'd expect the Hamlet to just be able to hold his own for a very long time. That's going to be a great start for Sun as well. As we mentioned, if Dairoth is able to scale up, he can really come online in the mid game.
They're going in for this one, actually. Chaknu should be fine. Takes quite a bit of damage, though. But, yeah, going back to your points there, too, I just want to say, and they're going the bottom lane again.
They're just not letting you talk right now. Ryzen wants Sun. He's looking for it, and the Dairoth not going to be able to escape.
Good revenge kill here, but even in mid lane, we are seeing that the River E2 Max is in a lot of trouble. Managed just to walk out just in time as Ryzen is rotating upwards. But this does mean that Zanri could get a potential pick.
E2 Max, unfortunately, staying just a little bit too long, and 2 kills gonna go the way of Natalia. They need this for the turtle.
I felt like I could hear his thoughts. Like, okay, maybe I shouldn't go back in this bush because there is a Natalia out there, right? So, and that's exactly what happened again. If we saw there's some, again, early action. Oh, gets the hard guard to stay alive. Turtle not going to be secured. As I was saying, right, Zanri is at a good starting point already, and this could be similar to what happened for Naomi yesterday, too, on the start.
Oh, but Ryzen going to be targeted Chaknu now, and Renzio taking massive damage. The Abysm Strike finds them both. Double kill for the Fanny. Tempest of Blades having to be forced out by Ryzen, as he now going to be chasing down Sun. He wants to look for it, getting dropped real low. Dawning Light not going to land. He now has his eyes set on Zanri. Will he be able to get him the smoke screen? Going to prevent him from moving forward. E2 Max is a bit too far up. He has the black shoes, but now he is completely out of position.
Oh, that's got to be frustrating, because it was just one hit and he couldn't get it, even with the black shoes, and then he was a little bit too overextended at that point.
Yeah, this seems to be a game of last hits. I mean, it all started with Renzio, and now even IDNS walk away with the exact same situation. No hard guard, but it still works out. Kelra?
I see taking massive damage. The Wesker working out, even trying to swap to Nibiru to finish the job, but luckily Pops the Sprint is able to get out of there.
What a big brain play that was. What a big brain. Who would have, I don't know. Personally for me, if you're in Kelra's position, who in the right mind thinks I'm gonna hide in Tribe Rush and pull this off, even though knowing that Zanri is coming back out of base?
I mean, maybe he likes to live dangerously, right? This guy is, he likes to play that way, and sometimes it pays off. Actually, more times than not, it pays off. 71.43% it pays off.
Look, he's been gone for a while, and he wants to make that TikTok highlight. He's going to do it.
I think we've definitely been seeing Beatrix players be a lot more daredevil-ish recently, since they have seemed to reach a consensus that Wesker is one of the only guns left that really hasn't been nerfed that hard, so can really output a lot of damage to unsuspecting people. And yes, even though it should be dangerous to hide in that bush, the rewards sometimes do outweigh the risks.
So what I'm wondering too is we saw the damage coming out from Sun, right? With that Abysm Strike that he had. And again, he's been in the XP lane. So I guess he's not needed that. He doesn't have to be in the gold lane. They find another kill in the bottom lane. Ryzen now 2 versus 1 has the Heart Guard. Tempest Blade's gonna come out. Can they find a kill here? He's looking hard. Oh man, the mega kill going over to Loys. Chaknu goes down as well. They find 2. 3. Make it 3.
Goodness, that is a big play coming in from IDNS. I think, you know, IDNS are reading the playbook, right? Because even for me, I was stating earlier into the game, yeah, they're probably gonna make sure that Chaknu is sitting on the top side, babysitting Calra to make sure they can dominate that lane. And I would expect Natalia to actually do the same and match it. But no, IDNS, they thought one step ahead. Let's play on the opposite side. Let's play with the most kill pressure and ensue and get that snowball started.
Yeah, and I think it's working out for them really well so far. That's got to be devastating there for Omega, nearly getting 2 kills, but Lois coming in at the perfect time to just pick off Ryzen. And even Chaknu, unluckily, not able to finish off the job. But because they're focusing on the EXP lane, Kelra is getting a lot of free farm, so I think that's something they have to pay attention to.
Well, not only that, let's not forget that they haven't been able to convert these kills into bigger objectives. So far, it's 1-to-1 in Turtles, and no structures have been taken.
Yeah, that's huge, actually. Now that you think, you know, now that you mention it, there's no, I mean, it's great to have kills. It's great to have the gold lead. But, I mean, if you're not getting space on the map, especially leading into those objectives, it's just going to catch up to you. So they need to start focusing on actually getting some turrets down here. Also, Kelra picking up that Blade of Despair with that Weapon Master, he's going to do a lot more damage. We already saw the early damage potential, even without that.
Yeah, absolutely, and we can see now that they're still trying to play really the Dawning Light just barely missing Omega. They're definitely adjusting to this aggression from IDNS. They recognize, okay, we have thrown a few too many kills over to their side. Now we have to play a little more defensively. But just as we say that, Kelra, will Heart Guard be enough? No, it will not.
That's some good layering of CC coming in from IDNS. They made sure that they were timing the smoke screen as soon as that silence wears off. The falling star move comes in to get that mini stun and then completely blowing him up afterwards. So even Kelra with the flicker just was not enough to survive such an onslaught. So now, with the snowball that Zanri is able to accumulate for himself, they're starting to threatening the stronger sides of the map.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about, right? When we saw this with Naomi, and at this point, I think even Naomi was a similar KDA, and it just shows how strong this Natalia pick can be, especially with, you know, the high and dry. You find a lane, you find a kill. Oh, you gotta be careful there, son. But yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about, and it starts to snowball the rest of your team. And they finally get a turret here. That's the first one, right? 7 minutes into the game. So this is their time to actually find these advantages that they've already built for themselves.
Yep, they do get the turtle as well as Ryzen now jumping on Angelina. He sees Sun is real low. Heart Guard already on the link, but the flicker right into the tower will keep these 3 players of IDNS safe for now. Ryzen, he's thinking about it, but better not.
Huh. Interesting move made by Omega. The macro play was that they were going for a lane swap. They understood, hey, Renzio, he's having a hard time. He's 0-3, he needs a win somehow, and Izzy doesn't have that much kill pressure. So they try to go for a lane swap, but in that process, IDNS were able to actually obtain and didn't set up the waves good enough from the side of Omega to protect that bottom tier 1. This ends up in result that IDNS picks up a tower for free and now will conceive this bottom side from Omega. They're going to start pressing their advantages, and with the Lord spawning at about 65 seconds, things are just falling into place.
Will it be enough? As we've mentioned before, Smart Omega are a team that can definitely come back from deficits like this, and 2K, 8 minutes in, really isn't that big of an issue, especially when you consider that Ryzen is going to be scaling up very hard alongside Kelra towards that late game. So definitely can't count out either side right now, but IDNS looking to be in much more comfortable form as compared to Game 1.
Yeah, definitely. You know, Smart Omega's been in situations like this many times. That's what they're known for, right? The comeback kings. And at this point, I think they really need to be able to just take it easy a little bit, right? Get to those timers for themselves because now, I mean, they're not so far behind like the previous game where in terms of IDNS being 10K gold behind, right? So it's still a salvageable game for Smart Omega, but I gotta say, IDNS is just controlling the pace so well, and a lot of that also has to do with Lois, again, performing very, very well on this Vandy, finding those picks, getting the mobility, but the pressure from Zanri on this Natalia is paying dividends, and now with this Lord coming up here, I still think that if they decide to focus on the Lord and clash it out, it could still possibly go anyway, unless Zanri finds someone out in the open and makes it an automatic numbers advantage.
No, I absolutely agree with you, Naisu. I think Omega are definitely in a position where they can actually fight back. I mean, recent item power spike coming in from IDNS at the 28K mark, we still haven't seen those purchases, which means the gold distribution is kind of relatively even here, and nobody's getting too far ahead.
Oh, but the Missile Strike nearly taking out Ryzen, if not for the hard guard. Now Sun in trouble, Renzio holding a lot of damage. They will be able to pick off the Deer off as Lois not in position to be able to finish that off. But we can see in the bottom side as well, Kelra getting chased back to base after being hunted down by Izzy, who is now slightly out of position, but this is an Esmeralda, should have no problem walking away.
But that's a nice start, right? And Zanri picking up the Malefic Aurora is also a nice item pickup because, again, that's a huge factor, right? At what point do you have to stop worrying about Natalia in a game? I don't think there's any point in the game because you always have to be conscious of let's protect Kelra, but at the same time, we got to make sure that Ryzen can also make those plays on this mobile assassin that is Ling. So I feel like Renzio needs to buy a little bit more time for himself to get kind of caught up here because he is going to be kind of that front line. And now, look at the mid.
Ryzen gonna be targeted, instantly bursts down a Missile Strike on two people, forces the Black Shoes out. They find two, Kelra finds one in return, but he's dropping real low. Renzio is able to zone out Izzy though, so the Beatrix is safe for now. 2-for-2 trade.
Okay, I'm starting to get the idea here. It looks like Omega have kind of conceived this earlier stages of the game. They understand, yes, we are behind, but they're at no point of this game will they be able to outscale IDNS esports, right? They're waiting for IDNS to make a mistake. And I think IDNS, yes, they want to press the tempo, but they also see the amount of potential that Omega could bounce back in case of a macro mistake. If they end up getting, I don't know, a full Savage given over to Omega, I think Omega will take that lead and run away with it. Looking at the item list so far, I mean, everybody's in some really good spirits here. 3 items coming in from Dairoth. We're seeing that Fanny is in a very comfortable position. High burst, 3 items already built. But more importantly, Izzy needs to speed up. If he gets this Ice Queen's wand, it could really put a full stop to Omega's plans.
Meantime, though, Falling Star Moon on E2 Max forces out the Black Shoes. Zanri, the damage from Kelra. Angelina now being targeted in the backline. E2 Max is the target of Lois. Instead, Ryzen finds his target. Lois, unfortunately, not able to do the same, so Omega bites back.
This is what I was saying, right? You just find those little moments where IDNS makes the mistake here. We saw the damage potential coming out from Kelra, and then it was followed up from Ryzen to get the picks off, and now with Lord being the focus here.
Yep, now they see Izzy is in place. They want to zone him out. They want this Lord Renzio as well as Ryzen right on top of him will be able to zone him out. Sun now in the bush looking for it, but is scouted out by Renzio. Izzy in position. I think Omega, they're probably not going to force this right now. They're still not in the best position, but they are keeping the Lord in check. Will they be able to take this away? Falling Star Moon once again onto Kelra and the backline. Dotting Light, not quite enough damage. Hard guard onto Ryzen. Will it be enough as Tempest plays? Will avoid Lois. A Missile Strike missing completely. Sun gonna drop over to the side of Omega. The rest of IDNS forced to retreat, leaving Izzy alone in the lurch. Ryzen chasing him down. Puppet on the string. Finds his target, but the Falling Star Moon actually stuns too. Zanri finding Kelra in the backline. That is pretty good for them as Loris gets the unstoppable on the Ling as well. Zanri finally falls, but he's done his job.
Talk about chaos there, right? I mean, just one after another. And yeah, Smart Omega loses their jungler, so they can't actually, you know, go for the Lord. Lois is still up, but I don't know if they actually find another kill here.
Oh, they're gonna find E2 Max. He doesn't have the black shoes. Killing spree going over to IZ.
Huge pick coming in from IDNS, really huge. Now the numbers advantage are in their favor, and they can actually find their end game mechanic in their Lord, and this is great. Now Omega, unfortunately, what they wanted to do was take this Lord and threaten IDNS to make some force, some presence, but the delay, IDNS just played it smart, looked for the delay, slowed them down, and now with IZ, with an Ice Queen's wand, this is going to be really difficult if he gets on top of Kelra.
Big pickup, as you said, the Ice Queen wand, man. I mean, that alone will be a obstacle in itself for Smart Omega. We're to check out this instant replay here. As you mentioned, you know, they were trying to just kind of bait IDNS from making a mistake here, but unfortunately, it kind of backfired a little bit on them, especially with Zanri. As you saw, he found Kelra. He did his job. At this point in the game, that's exactly what Zanri needs to do, and that's exactly what Smart Omega needs to be aware of. Where is Zanri coming from? Is Kelra okay? Because as soon as we commit the Heart Guard over to Ryzen, that's going to be tough.
I mean, the big problem is that Omega right now, their main carry is going to be Kelra for the time being.
In the meantime, though, Heart Guard already being used on Renzio, which means that Ryzen doesn't have it, but is still able to find Angelina. Sun gonna drop to the Tamus as well. Even a double kill onto the Natalia. He's still alive right now, dueling up there in the top lane. Now going to be able to get away from Lois. Chaknu, unfortunately, no longer in the Heart Guard. Might be in trouble, but Sprint gets him out of there. IZ gonna have to get away. He has Sprint as well, so Puppet on a string, not going to land.
Man, I mean, that was crazy because we didn't get to see it on the camera, but that was a double kill there for Renzio, so that was a big play. Kelra's got to be careful here, though, too. He does have the damage, as you just saw, able to actually be quite threatening here, and now they're going to be focused on the mid lane.
Yeah, they need to crack this open as soon as possible. They need a bigger map to play with, and more importantly, with 78 seconds on the clock until this Luminous Lord is back up and running, Omega will have to play it slow and take their time, waiting for IDNS to make that mistake. Now, if we look at the damage charts here, Ryzen is in a good position where he's dealing a lot of damage. Kelra unable to keep up, mainly because Zanri has been keeping him in check, but on top of that, the rest of the IDNS members evenly distributed, taking second, third, fourth, and fifth place in terms of highest damage in this game so far. Omega are extremely careful with how they move around the map now.
You can see in terms of the player gold as well. Despite not doing a lot of damage overall, Lois is actually the richest player on the field. Ryzen not too far behind. So in terms of net worth, both teams are quite even. Only a 1k lead for the side of IDNS, which means that right now, the game can still go either way. It's just that IDNS have a slight structure advantage.
Yeah, right now, exactly that, right? They can continue to push that bottom lane in, so Smart Omega always kind of has to kind of babysit that. Make sure that you have someone to handle those waves pushing in, and now that this Lord is coming up in just about 14 seconds, it's going to be a tough one because you have to be super careful on your approach, the decision-making, and just not lose one to Zanri, because that will be your best option here. So Zanri's job, literally find Kelra. That's the best target you can find here, or force E2 Max even to use the black shoes so he doesn't have that reset available to him.
But who's going to be looking for him, right? Renzio has to deal with the front line. E2 Max, he's at threat against Zanri as well. If he shows up, then maybe we can see the IDNS starts pulling back, but it's all about who can find that first pick. And even for Chaknu, that Heart Guard is just way too valuable to put himself at risk. So they have to clump up together, as you can see in the mid lane, as for making sure that they can cover each other's backs, because they cannot afford to walk away from this bubble.
I think what's important for Smart Omega right now is not just the positioning of their players, but a lot of pressure on Chaknu to decide who he's going to be using the Heart Guard on, because that is a very valuable moment. And right now, he has to choose between keeping it for Kelra, using it on Ryzen, and potentially saying Renzio of these fights, because the Tamus is having a little bit of difficulty. Two members of IDNS have dominance eyes. Even Zanri picking up the Sea Halberd on top of that to negate all of Omega's regen.
I feel like, you know, now that we see these items here, and Renzio has pretty darn good itemization, right? And we saw earlier, a couple minutes ago, that double kill that he got with the Heart Guard. So he's actually quite tanky now. And he can start kind of being that front line for Omega, whereas Chaknu can, yeah, make the decision who's the best target here. because Renzio was struggling in the beginning of the game, and now he's fine. So he's actually going to go ahead and just try to see if he can force something from IDNS.
Yeah, Renzio is pretty self-sustaining as well. With the changes to Thalmos, he's able to sustain quite a bit with his new ult. Man, he gets a lot of HP out of that. And with Vengeance, that's going to buy him a double amount of time.
In the bottom lane, an attempt being made on the bottom inhibitor is putting Zanri out of position. That's going to be a free kill. Ryzen takes a lot of damage from the Dawning Light, but they found their primary problems. The Natalia taken off the board. I'm pretty sure they now have their eyes on the Luminous Lord.
I think they should press their advantages here. Like E2 Max, he doesn't mind taking a little bit more. Now that Zanri is done, he can take damage and then still use the Black Shoe safely. So they're going to move up, take control of mid, and then start to look for the Lord. IDNS, either they delay for the next 20, maybe 25 seconds to allow Zanri to travel over, or they just duke it out 4v5.
We're gonna find out. Renzio and Chaknu already working on it. Angelina gonna be found out by E2 Max as IC tries to zone them out, but it's not going to be enough. Ryzen now coming in, the enemy jungler.
Oh,
Nowhere
the
near
steal.
Lloyd. He gets the steal on the Lord. Shutdown on the Esmeralda, but does it matter? He got what he was looking for.
That was a great steal there. I mean, that buys time, but I was going to say too, you know, Smart Omega has to be super careful because you don't want to be caught in that position there around that Lord pit, and now they have to defend here. So they should be fine to defend. It was a great try because also Kelra was forcing Angelina back. But if Angelina goes back on the Xavier, you still have that Dawning Light potential to steal, and they didn't even need that.
Yeah, they threw everything. Honestly, well done to IDNS. This is some great coordination. They threw their bodies, Izzy specifically, threw his body in, using the sprint to run in. Angelina goes in, times the Dawning Light with Izzy running in at the same time, and Loy goes flying with a Retribution to try and secure.
Ooh, speaking of flying, Loy setting up a lot of damage for the Dawning Light. Abyssal Strike going to miss completely, and Sun is now at the mercy of Omega. Gets picked off by Kelra, who now has the hard guard on him. They've already managed to clear up the Lord. They're looking for more now, but a nice Mystic Field gonna stop the chase. Woo! Angelina doing loads of damage now.
That was, I mean, either way, right? Decisions were made there, and Smart Omega able to find a kill, but also the decision for Lois to just be like, you know what, I'm going to check out of here, I'm going to go push the top lane up, and then I'm going to go back to base, because they have to keep the pressure here on Smart Omega on all fronts, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, and unfortunately, even though Kelra was at kill, was supposed to die there, he still is really quick on the button with his Winds of Nature, but Ryzen now going for Izzy.
Yep, they're going to be jumping on top of the Esmeralda, but he is so tanky. Loy's providing some backup, but it's not enough, and now Ryzen, all of his shield is gone, but the double shotgun from Kelra nearly taking out the Fanny. Now E2 Max in trouble, and Zanri finds the kill. He sacrifices his life, but again, a 1-for-1 trade is exactly what he's looking for.
Is that, I mean, is that worth it for Zanri to continue to do that, right? Like, to sacrifice himself in a way to just find a target here. This time around, it was E2 Max. Do you think that's worth it, Gideon?
Personally, I think it's really worth it. At this stage of the game, Natalia, yes, she's extremely valuable to take out someone like Kelra, right? But now, Omega have started to scale. The gold leads 62k to 63k. They basically all have max items at this stage of the game, right? So every death with the long death timer of 4v5 is actually ideal for IDNS, who have itemized to make sure that they start healing backwards. They're really, really tanky with Izzy as well. So they can pick and choose when to go in and out of fights, where Omega, if they go in, they have to go in hard.
They really do, and it is kind of curious that they decided to go on to IZ. Yes, he's the only one that they saw at that point, but there's no point using the hot guard against an Esmeralda because it just doesn't matter to him in the first place. Both players now going to respawn. The Luminous Lord going to be entering the field yet again. This is the final evolution, and both these teams gonna be looking for a very juicy objective right now. Omega, the ones on top of his Zanri in the back line. He finds Kelra, picked off. Zanri loses his life, but again, he's done his job. IZ buying a lot of time. Hard guard on Ryzen. They want to look for the Lord, and IZ is just buying so much time. Abyss of Strike going to take out E2 Max, and now Ryzen isn't on the Lord. Lois is the one in control. Renzio but a nice catch in the back line. Shut down, double kill, triple kill going over the Sun. As the unstoppable streak's gonna be shut down. Maniac going over to IDNS Esports.
What a save! What a save coming in from Angelina, denying 2 from the Lord Pit to allow Lois to do God's work. Well done, IDNS.
Before that all happened, I was going to say Smart Omega does not want to fight in that pit because of Xavier and Aloys, and there you go. They do it. They take it 1-1. IDNS taking down Smart Omega.
The comeback kings from the Philippines have been denied their victory as IDNS proves that no team at MSC 2022 can be underestimated. We are starting off day 2, ladies and gentlemen, with a 1-1 matchup, and I am very excited to see how the day is going to continue.
Whew, what a game that was. Sun did a great job. Kelra, unfortunately, getting picked off there made it so bad for Smart Omega. And on top of being in a bad position,